Asher Bale almost left them to die. He heard the scream, turned his head, and saw two bodies half buried in snow. Most men would have walked away. Two strangers, a blizzard, no witnesses. But Asher stepped toward them anyway. The wind hit like knives, snow driving sideways, blinding, suffocating. But he kept moving. Boot after boot sinking deep, dragging forward. He reached them. Two women, identical. Dark hair frozen to their skin, lips pale, bodies shaking on the edge of stopping. One was barely conscious, the other still fighting. She tried to push him away, weak, desperate, like she'd learned that help was just another kind of danger. Asher knelt, his gloves already stiff with ice. He pulled one sister free, snow packed tight around her legs, then turned and dragged the other closer. They were light, too light, like the storm had already started taking pieces of them. Then fingers, cold, shaking, grabbing his sleeve. He looked down. Her eyes were open now, dark, terrified, and focused only on him. Her lips moved. "Please, not again." Asher didn't move. The storm howled around them, but he didn't hear it anymore. Because that wasn't fear of dying. That was something else. Something learned. He'd heard men beg before. War did that. But never like this. Never like someone who already knew what came next. His jaw tightened. "Not this time," he muttered, more to himself than to her. He lifted her first. Her body went rigid in his arms, but she didn't fight. Not anymore. He carried her through the snow, laid her down just beyond the drift, then turned back for the other. The second one was worse. No resistance, no voice, just shallow breath barely fogging the air. He slung her over his shoulder and stood. Two lives, one man, and a storm that didn't care. The walk back should have killed him. Each step slower, heavier, snow climbing past his knees, then his thighs, wind tearing at his lungs like it wanted him to stop. But he didn't, because now he knew what that whisper meant, and he wasn't going to let it happen again. Not to them. The cabin appeared like a shadow through the white. He kicked the door open, stumbled inside, and dropped to one knee. The fire was still alive, barely. Enough. He laid them down, one, then the other, his hands already moving without thought. Blankets, firewood, water, survival. But even as the heat began to fight the cold, Asher couldn't shake the feeling pressing in his chest, because he hadn't just brought home two dying strangers. He'd brought something else, something broken, something hunted. And whatever had made her say, "Not again," was still out there. And sooner or later, it would come looking. The cold doesn't leave quickly. Not the kind that gets into bone. Asher knew that. So he didn't waste time. Boots off first, frozen cloth stiff as wood, cut away where it wouldn't move. He worked fast, careful, not looking longer than he had to. Their skin was ice, No color, no strength. Just faint breath and the slow, dangerous quiet of bodies shutting down. He dragged the cot closer to the fire, then pulled blankets over them both. Not enough. Never enough. So he did the only thing left. He added his own coat, then another blanket, then sat beside them, close enough for warmth to matter. Minutes passed, or maybe longer. Time moved strange in a storm like this. Then movement. One of them stirred. A weak inhale, too sharp, too sudden. Her eyes snapped open, wild, searching, and landing on him. She recoiled instantly, tried to push herself back, but her body failed her. A broken attempt. "You're safe," Asher said, his voice rough, unused. "I'm not taking you anywhere." She didn't believe him. He could see it in the way her eyes moved, measuring distance, doors, weapons, escape. The other sister coughed, a weak, painful sound. Her eyes opened slower, but the fear was the same. They reached for each other, hands trembling, finding, gripping tight. That told him everything. They didn't trust him. But they trusted each other. Good. That meant they'd fight to live. "Drink." He handed over water. Didn't move closer. Didn't force it. The first one hesitated, then slowly took it. Small sip, then another. Her sister followed. They watched him the entire time, like animals deciding whether he was predator or shelter. He stood up, gave them space, turned his back. "I'll keep the fire going. That's all." Silence filled the cabin. Different now. Not empty. Tense. Watching. Waiting. Cloth shifted behind him. Soft movement. They were adjusting, pulling blankets tighter, staying close together. He didn't turn. Didn't look. Wouldn't give them a reason to fear him more. Minutes passed. Then a voice. "Where are we?" English, broken, but clear enough. "My land," Asher said. "No town, no one else." Another silence. Then, quieter, "You won't take us back?" That word, back. He felt it land. "No, I don't take people anywhere." A breath. Shaky. Relief, but not trust. "Names," he said after a moment. Not a demand, just something human. The first one answered. "Lynn." The other, "Leanne." He nodded. Didn't ask more. "Asher." That's it. The fire cracked. Outside, the storm still raged. Inside, 3 strangers shared one room and too many unknowns. But something had changed, just slightly. Not safety, not yet, but possibility. And beneath that, something else was beginning to surface. Something learned. Something dangerous. because girls like them didn't survive the world outside without understanding one simple rule: nothing is ever free. Night came early. The storm didn't stop. It just grew quieter, which somehow felt worse. Inside the cabin, the fire burned low. 3 shadows on the walls. Asher lay on the floor, coat folded beneath his head, eyes open. He didn't sleep much anymore. Hadn't for years. Behind him, the cot creaked softly. Fabric shifting. Whispers. Chinese. Fast. Low. Urgent. He didn't understand the words, but he understood the tone. Fear. Debate. Decision. Then silence. Long enough to feel intentional. He almost closed his eyes when, "Mr. Asher?" Her voice trembled, but she forced it steady. He didn't turn. "What is it?" His voice stayed low, neutral. Another pause. Too long. Like stepping toward a cliff and not knowing if the ground would still be there. Then, bare feet on wood. He heard them, both of them. He sat up slowly, turned just enough. They stood near the fire, wrapped in his blanket, side by side. Identical, but not the same. One held the edge of the blanket tight, knuckles pale. The other watched him, eyes steady, too steady. She stepped forward first, just one step. Her voice caught. She swallowed, tried again. "We know nothing is free." The words hit the room like something heavy finally said out loud. No more pretending. Asher didn't move, didn't speak, but something in his chest tightened. The second sister continued. "You saved us. You gave us fire, water, place to stay. That means—" She hesitated, just for a second, then forced the words through. "We must give something back." The first one looked down. Shame. Not new. "We cannot pay money," she added quietly. "No family, no land, no way to leave." Her fingers tightened around the blanket. Then, slowly, she loosened them. Asher's jaw clenched. He knew what was coming before they said it. He'd seen it before. Different place, different war. Same look in people's eyes. The look of someone who thinks they already understand the price. The second sister stepped closer, close enough for the firelight to catch her face. Her voice dropped, barely more than air. "If we—" She couldn't finish. The first one did. "Will you let us stay?" Silence. Heavy. Then, almost inaudible, "If we undress?" Something snapped. Not loud, not visible, but final. Asher stood, slow, controlled, every movement deliberate. They flinched, both of them. Of course they did. That was what came next. He turned his back to them, completely. No hesitation. Put the blanket back on. His voice was rough, but steady. No one's touching you here. They didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't believe him. I said, put it back on. A rustle. Fabric pulled tight again. He stared into the fire, jaw tight, hands clenched. I didn't save you for that, and I don't take payment like that. Silence. Then a sound, soft, broken, crying. Quiet at first, then harder. Not fear, not pain, something else. Relief. The kind that hurts because you didn't expect it. Asher didn't turn around, didn't look. Gave them that much. But in that moment, something changed. Not just in them, in him. Because for the first time in a long time, he wasn't just surviving. He was choosing what kind of man he was going to be. Morning came quietly. The storm had passed, but the cold remained. Light slipped through the cracks in the cabin walls, thin, pale, like the world itself was still unsure if it should warm again. Asher was already awake. He always was. Old habits didn't fade. He stepped outside. Snow stretched in every direction, untouched. No tracks, no movement, just silence. Good. For now. He checked the wood pile, cleared the doorway, worked with his hands, because that was easier than thinking. When he stepped back inside, they were awake. Sitting on the cot, wrapped tight in blankets, watching him. But something had changed. The fear was still there, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't sharp anymore. It was cautious. You stayed. Leanne said it first, like she still wasn't sure. Asher shrugged slightly. This is my place. I don't go anywhere. A faint reaction. Not quite a smile, but close. He handed them food. Simple. Bread, dried meat. They hesitated, then took it. This time, no flinching. They ate slowly, carefully, like they were learning how to exist here. Minutes passed. Then movement. Lynn stood, still weak, but steady enough. She looked around the cabin, at the floor, the fire, the scattered tools. Then, without asking, she began to clean. Asher frowned slightly. Don't need that. Her hands didn't stop. We stay. We help. Simple, direct. He didn't argue. Didn't know how. Leanne joined her, slow at first, then more certain. They moved together, like they always had. Not guests, not prisoners. Something else. Something forming. The day passed in quiet rhythm. Fire, water, small tasks. No wasted words, But the silence was different now. It wasn't empty. It held something steady. That evening, they sat closer to the fire, closer to each other, closer to him. Not touching, but no longer avoiding. Leanne spoke first. "Our father—" She stopped, searched for words. "Railroad, work camp, debt." Asher didn't interrupt, just listened. Lynn continued. "Man there, Barlow." The name settled heavy, like something that didn't belong in a quiet place. He take everything. After father die, we become payment. Silence. No exaggeration, no drama, just truth. Asher's expression didn't change, but his hand tightened slightly around the cup. "They'll look for you," he said. Not a question. Both sisters nodded at the same time. "They always do," Lynn whispered. Outside, the snow looked untouched, but Asher knew better. Men like that didn't stop, didn't forget. They tracked, waited, took. He stood up, checked the door, the window, the rifle resting nearby. Not fear, preparation. Because the storm was over, but something else was already on its way. And when it arrived, it wouldn't knock. It would take. It started with the horses. Distant. Faint. But wrong. Asher heard them before he saw anything, before the wind carried sound clearly, before the snow shifted. His head turned slightly, listening. 3 riders, maybe 4. Heavy, not passing through, coming here. He didn't say it out loud, didn't need to, because behind him he felt it. The shift, the fear returning. "They found us," Leanne whispered. No panic, just certainty. Asher moved, fast, controlled. He grabbed the rifle, checked the chamber, loaded. "Back corner," he said. "Stay low." No hesitation this time. The sisters moved immediately, together, silent. They trusted him now. That was new. The hoofbeats grew louder, crunching snow, slow, deliberate, not chasing, arriving. Asher stepped outside, closed the door behind him, didn't give them a view inside. The cold hit again, but he didn't feel it. The riders came into view. 3 men, dark coats, hard faces. And one of them sat differently, like he owned the ground beneath the horse. Barlow. The man smiled, slow, satisfied. "Well now, a quiet man in the mountains, and somehow my property ends up here." Asher didn't move, didn't speak. "They're not yours." Barlow chuckled. "Everything has a price. Those girls owe me." He shifted in the saddle, eyes drifting toward the cabin. "Send them out. And this doesn't have to be difficult." Asher stepped forward. Just one step. Enough. "They're not leaving." Silence. Then the smile faded. Barlow tilted his head slightly, studying him now. "You sure about that?" His tone changed, colder. "Because I didn't ride all this way to ask twice." One of the men dismounted, slow, hand near his knife. Another followed, spreading out, flanking. Asher raised the rifle, not rushed, not shaking, just ready. "Last warning. Turn around." Barlow smiled again, but this time there was no warmth in it. "You think you're the first man to decide he's a hero?" He leaned forward slightly, eyes locking onto Asher's. "They all bleed the same." The air shifted, tighter, thinner. The man on the left moved first, quick, too quick. Asher fired. The crack split the air. The man dropped, not dead, but down. Everything froze for half a second. Then chaos. The second man rushed, knife flashing. Asher stepped back, reloaded, but not fast enough. The blade came in low, close, too close. A sharp grunt, steel scraping past his side. Not deep, but enough. Asher swung the rifle, hard, cracked it across the man's shoulder. The man stumbled back, cursing, off balance. Barlow didn't move, just watched, calculating. Then he raised a hand. "Enough." The man froze, breathing hard. Barlow looked at Asher again, long, slow, then smiled. Not angry, worse, interested. "This isn't over." He turned his horse. "We'll come back. And next time, you won't be ready." They rode off, slow, unhurried, like men who knew they still had time. The sound faded. Snow swallowed it whole. Asher stood there, still, rifle lowered. Then, finally, he turned, opened the door. Inside, Lynn and Leanne stood waiting, eyes wide. Not afraid of him anymore, afraid for him. "They'll come back," Lynn said. Asher nodded. Once. "I know." Silence filled the cabin again. But now it wasn't uncertainty. It was something else. Something heavier. War. And this time he wasn't fighting for himself.